What is up, Terror Talk fans? We are back here on another episode today. Today we're on episode 25. Yes, 25. And this is a big one. This is a major update coming to us from the Howl-O-Scream Events at Busch Gardens in Tampa, SeaWorld in Orlando, Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, SeaWorld in San Antonio, and a slight update from SeaWorld in San Diego. All of these Howl-O-Scream events are happening this year, and we have gotten the full event announcements. That's right, we have received full information on all of the events, one exception being San Diego. We have not gotten quite the full thing yet, but we are getting there, and we're getting more information as we go. But we're not going to waste any time today. We are just going to dive right in, because we have a lot of ground to cover. So let's just get on with it. So on Friday the 13th, Busch Gardens and SeaWorld decided to take a page out of Universal Orlando's book and announce all their houses and Scarezones for the 2021 Howl-O-Scream event. We had just received word from Universal Studios the day before announcing their full Halloween Horror Nights event, all their houses, Scarezones, shows, all that fun stuff. And then literally a day later, Howl-O-Scream did the same thing. So, prior to getting this full announcement, we had received a couple of announcements here and there, and we had actually just received one several days prior, but at the time we were not able to put an episode out, so that information is also going to be covered in this episode. So, let's just dive right in. Let's start off with Busch Gardens Tampa. The Busch Gardens Tampa event will be happening from September 10th to October 31st. We're going to dive right in with the houses. So first up we have Deathwater Bayou, Blood Moon. New terrors will stalk the swamp this season. Can you outrun the pack? The voodoo chants have died off, replaced by blood-curdling howls into your screams. Dark magic has manifested into darker curses as ravenous werewolves claw their way through the bayou on the hunt for human flesh. Beneath the midnight sky, the moonlight reveals glowing eyes, blood-stained teeth, and an inescapable fate for all who enter the swamp. So this house is a returning house for Busch Gardens Tampa. It debuted at the event in 2013 and has returned for 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. In 2018, the house went under the name Deathwater Bayou, Death of the Queen, and in 2019, the house was known as Deathwater Bayou, Wrath of the Queen. And so now we have Deathwater Bayou, Blood Moon, so we have some new evils happening. This is going to be in the Morocco area of the park. This is a house that I'm very excited for, because I'm sure this is going to be very swampy, marshland, bayou type. Obviously it's going to be bayou type because that's in the name, but I think this is going to be a really cool house, scenic wise and just scare wise, because I think we're going to see a lot of just kind of creepy werewolves and voodoo type people in here. I think this will be a really neat house, and I'm very excited for this one. Very curious to see what Busch Gardens is going to do. I've not seen any of the other renditions of this house before, so I'm very excited for this one. I say this one is definitely going to be up there on my list of ones that I'm ready to get into and check out. Up next, another returning house is The Residence. This suburban home paints a pretty picture on its eerily quiet street, but open the front door and discover the domestic demons that lie beneath. Friendly neighbors have gone mysteriously missing in this seemingly normal suburban community. Enter the pristine home of a picture-perfect family, but beware of unseen horrors. Once you're invited in, you may never make your way out. Don't let yourself become the next sacrifice in their sinister devotion. The Residence was one of the 6 haunted houses at Howl-O-Scream 2019 and was the only new haunted house for that year's event, so it is returning this year for 2021. This is an interesting house. I'm very curious what we're going to see. I guess this is one where you're going to be going into a lot of type of residential homes and whatnot, maybe. It's all I can guess. You're going to see some where these people live, I guess. I don't know. This is kind of an interesting one. Almost seems like you'd go into like a 1950s kind of nuclear town, almost, is kind of the vibe I'm getting just from the description of it, because it talks about this suburban home and all that, and you're going through a neighborhood that's a suburban community, and to me that seems like it would set the scene perfectly for the creepy 1950s family. They do the creepy smile and they're like, hi, everything's perfect, but everything's not perfect. And so that's kind of the vibes I'm getting from this. Again, I don't really know anything about this haunt. I really don't know anything about any of the haunts at these locations, as I've never gotten to attend. So we're really just giving our best guesses to what they could be and giving you the information on these. Finally, we have a new house for the 2021 season. This is a brand new house called Witch of the Woods. Something wicked this way haunts. An ominous legend summons you with her inescapable curse. Curiosity has brought many travelers into the dark forest, but only bone-chilling stories and dying screams make their way out. With each step deeper into the woods, the prospect of survival quickly fades as demonic disciples hunt wandering intruders through their abandoned village. Human sacrifices are chased to the witch's altar, where dark fates are sealed with more than spells. So this is an interesting sounding house. So obviously we're going to be going into a forest. There's no doubt about that. So we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of trees and whatnot. It's going to be a very dark house, I'd imagine. A lot of greens and dark blue kind of colors, if I had to guess. We're going to be going through some sort of abandoned village, it seems. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how they do that, what that exactly looks like. I'm very curious to see. Really, I'm curious to see all these houses scenic-wise, but this one is another one of those ones I'm very curious to see just like what kind of detail is going to go into this. Are we going to go the full length to make this look like a real, like, middle of the woods kind of thing, an abandoned village? Is that what we're getting here? I'm very curious, but that is the Witch of the Woods. So all the houses that are going to be at Howl-O-Scream Busch Gardens, Tampa are the Forgotten, which is a new house, Cell Block Zombies, another new house, Deathwater Bayou Blood Moon, which is returning, The Residents, also returning, and Witch of the Woods, new house. So this will be very interesting in terms of house. I'm very excited about these. Now, we did know that we were going to be getting a lot of Scarezones, and we have all the information on that as well. So let's dive right in. First up, we have a brand new Scarezone for this year called Voodoo. Driven out of the bayou by ravenous werewolves, the witch doctors now practice their dark magic on you as they pursue their twisted revenge through ancient curses. I'm going to guess this one goes with the Deathwater Bayou house, if they're doing that same thing that SeaWorld was doing of kind of combining the house with the Scarezone. I feel like this one will definitely go with that. Up next, we have the Skeleton Crew. So this is another new one. Rising from their watery grave, shipwrecked pirates seek to plunder the world of the living, taking all lost souls as their bounty. So, another pirate one. So we've got a pirate thing happening at SeaWorld. We don't have a pirate haunt happening here, but we do have one over at SeaWorld. So this is interesting that we're going to see pirates make their way into this event. Up next is In the Shadows, another new one. Eerie legends and horrifying myths passed down through centuries of ghost stories have gathered in the woods, turning wary skeptics into doomed believers. Somehow I think this is going to go along with the witch house. I think it's going to be right there around the same area because it's talking about legends and myths and whatnot, and that has to do with the witches, I would imagine, because, people tell stories of the witch and talks about the woods and all these different things. So I'm thinking that these two, this Scarezone and that haunt, will go together. And it definitely sounds like another very eerie one. Definitely going to be a lot of trees in this area. Very dark and creepy. Now we have a lot of returning Scarezones. First up is the Shortcut. This is returning from the 2020 event, which occurred last year. For those of you who may not have experienced it, or even for those of you who did experience it, Busch Gardens did have a sort of Howl-O-Scream event last year. It was fully all Scarezones. There were no haunted houses at all. It was all Scarezones, and they might have had some like walkthroughs, which were kind of like mini haunted houses. But other than that, this was a full Scarezone year, and we do have Scarezones from that year returning this year, starting with the Shortcut. This is located in the Congo area of the park. Cutting through the cemetery may seem like an easy way out, except when the corpses rise from the ground only to drag you back into their graves with them. Guess this is probably going to be like your cemetery kind of Scarezone with a lot of gravestones and that type of thing. A lot of dead zombie-looking creatures around here. So it's definitely one that you would see at any old theme park across America. So it's not too intriguing, but it's interesting as always. Very interesting. Up next we have the Junkyard. This is also returning from last year's 2020 event. This is located in the Bird Gardens Pavilion. You'll find more than spare parts as you rummage through this surly scrap site. Will you make it out in one piece or be devoured by the haunted rubble? So again, this is one of those that, pretty typical for any Halloween event. You have some sort of junkyard because you can do a lot of good scares with that, with the clanging of barrels and crates and all sorts of different things. The metal really allows for some good auditory scares, and so I see what they're doing with here, and that's a pretty typical thing you're going to get. Up next, we have Little Nightmares. So this Scarezone actually debuted in 2019, returned last year for 2020, and is back once again for 2021. This is located in the Sesame Street Safari of Fun area of the park. So that's kind of interesting. Usually in Halloween events, you don't typically have scare zones in the children's area of the parks, just because it's best to keep them separate, because you don't want to have to go back and make them all scary when you do the time change and all that. But apparently, Busch Gardens does not follow that rule. So, take a creepy walk down memory lane to the bygone era of papier-mâché masks and homemade costumes, sure to stir up the nightmares of your childhood. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. So, I imagine this to be very, nursery rhyme, kind of creepy looking. You get the creepy masks of the creepy rabbit masks and, porcelain doll face mask, that type of thing. That's definitely the vibes I'm getting from this area of the park already. So I feel like I'd be really creeped out here. So this is an interesting concept. Very curious to see what that's going to look like. Up next is Deadly Toys. So this one debuted in 2018, has returned both in 2019 and 2020, and is coming back again for 2021. This is located in the Sesame Street of Fun part of the park in 2018, and then it was located in the Nairobi part of the park in 2019. You can run, but you cannot hide as giant toys spring to life in a murderous rampage with you in their sights. Childhood memories will be destroyed when these toys turn a playdate into a sleigh date. Ooh, this sounds interesting. So I definitely imagine giant dolls or, big bunny rabbits, oversized things. A lot of oversized things. I imagine seeing some really big block set pieces. Almost like everything is toys, but it's oversized at this point to make up for this scare zone. So it's kind of interesting. So this whole scare zone is made up of these oversized type of child playthings, things you would find in maybe a toy box or a child's bedroom. It's a very interesting concept. I really am excited about them. I think that's going to be really cool to see in person. Then we have Hidden Scare Zone and Roaming Hordes. Beware of the hidden zone and roaming hordes. Just when you think you know what's coming, untold horrors lurk in the darkness awaiting your arrival. So what this sounds like to me is a lot kind of like what SeaWorld is doing this year with the roaming haunts. It sounds like they're basically laying it out for you, saying, everywhere you look in this park, you better look behind you and make sure that there's nothing there, because you're not safe anywhere. And basically telling you to keep on your toes at all times in all locations, because this year it is more intense than ever. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like they're coming out really hot and heavy, ready to just give you whatever they can think of. So those are the wonderful scare zones we have: Deadly Toys, Little Nightmares, The Junkyard, The Shortcut, In the Shadows, Skeleton Crew, and Voodoo. Up next, we have some ghoulish entertainment. First up, we have Fiends. This is a recurring show from Busch Gardens Tampa's Howl-O-Scream. It has been featured at the event since 2001. The storyline revolves around Dr. Frankenstein preparing to bring Frankenstein's monster to life in a comical and sometimes naughty atmosphere. So it kind of almost sounds very much like Bill and Ted in a way, for those of you who are HHN fans. These captivating creatures of the night will infect you with a dance fever and keep your pulse pounding with their raucous dance party on the festival field stage. Bring your depraved sense of humor as the deranged doctor takes his motley crew on a wild vacation to Las Vegas. So yeah, this sounds exactly like Bill and Ted. It sounds like this is the place to go for all of us who are the big Halloween Horror Nights people, who still want that raw edge kind of show like what Bill and Ted offered. So it sounds like Busch Gardens has offered this. I feel like this could be a really fun show to go see. Definitely going to have some good music, I'd imagine. Definitely some funny shticks. I'm very excited to actually sit down and experience this. I think this is going to be a really fun show to watch. I'm definitely curious to see it, having never seen it before, and definitely excited to share my experience on that. Then up next we have the Rolling Bones. They are returning. As guests dine between devilish destinations, the live performance of this skeleton band lights up Dragonfire Grill with epic covers of classic rock anthems. So this group I could not find a whole lot of information on, but it sounds pretty neat already. You know, classic rock is me all day long. I love that type of music. I believe last year they were at the event, so that's a really neat thing to have them come back and be a part of this one. So check out the Rolling Bones. I think that'll be a really neat thing. We're definitely going to try and check them out, maybe grab a bite to eat at the Dragonfire Grill. So those are our two shows for the 2021 season. In addition to the haunts, scare zones, and shows, we do have a couple other experiences, eerie experiences, if you will. And first up is the new Blood Bar. Fuel up on liquid courage at an all-new ghoulishly themed outdoor bar on your way to the Forgotten. Be sure to stop by and pick your poison from bewitching brews and cocktails served by sinister creatures of the dark. After all, our vampires prefer their victims with a little more flavor in their bloodstream. So this bar kind of ties in with the theme of the Forgotten Haunted House, the new haunt that is coming to the park this year, the vampire-themed one. So I think that's really interesting that they were able to do that. It's something, again, that SeaWorld is actually doing, and I think that's a really neat touch to have all these different aspects of the event kind of correlate with one another. So it's very cool. Good on them for doing something like that. So some of the cocktails you can get at this signature bar. These are your signature Howl-O-Scream cocktails. First one is Swamp Water. It is made from Milagro Tequila, Flor de Caña Rum, Beefeater Gin, and Monin Granny Apple. Up next is the Witch's Brew, and that is made from Tito's Vodka, Blue Sriracha, Grenadine, and Cranberry Juice. The Bite Jelly O Syringe Shot is made from Milagro Tequila and Berry Jello. I guarantee you I'm going to try each one of these while I am down there and give you my honest opinions of all three of them, because they all sound absolutely delicious, and I really hope that they are as good as they sound. I hope none of them taste like what they look like, though. Swamp Water, that just doesn't sound good. But then you read the ingredients, they sound really good. So hopefully they're good. And in addition to these signature cocktails, you can also get a selection of beer, hard seltzers, and spirits. Up next, we have the Shop of Horrors. Be sure to stop by the Shop of Horrors, featuring the latest Howl-O-Scream fashions, including shirts, hats, ghoulish sweatshirts, and haunting gifts. So this is just your gift shop where you can buy some merch. We're definitely going to swing in there and check out the merch and show y'all what all they have to offer. I think that'll be a really neat stop on our trip, because we always try to come back with one souvenir or something from all these different places we go. So we're definitely going to try and get our t-shirt from there. Up next, we have games. Test your luck at Dark Heart's Game of Skill, located in Pantopia. A plethora of classic and new age carnival games means there's something for everyone's taste. You can also win prizes at several other games around the park. I don't think we'll check it out to see what all this is about, but I don't think we're going to be playing any games, because usually there's an upcharge. I don't know if there was one for this, but more often than not, they find other ways to get your money. So I don't think we're going to be going around there and playing any games, but we are definitely going to check it out and see what they offer. So that'll be a lot of fun. I think we're going to have a fun time there. So that's all the information on Busch Gardens Tampa. Be sure to go check out the event. The event is happening September 10th through October 31st on select nights. So be sure to buy your tickets now while I believe they're still having a discount on it right now when we're recording this episode. So go check that, take advantage of it while you can. We have our ticket to head down there. Up next, we're going to talk about Busch Gardens Williamsburg. So we're going to talk about all the Busch Gardens in this segment, and then in the second segment, we're going to jump into all the SeaWorld stuff. So let's talk about Busch Gardens Williamsburg, Virginia. So this event is going to be happening September 10th through October 31st. So let's start with the scare zones this time. But they don't call them scare zones, they call them territories. First up, we have a new territory for the 2021 season called Hexed Hollow. This village and all who travel through it are cursed by an ancient magic. Dark magics flow freely in the hollow, and nothing is ever going to be the same. Hexed Hollow is located in Rhinefield Village. So to me, this sounds a lot like there's going to be a lot of witches brew, cauldrons, that type of thing happening all around this area. I'm trying to remember Rhinefield Village. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that might be I think that's the Scotland area of the park. I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure it is, though. I'm going to look that up. Okay, so this is one we cannot seem to find where it is located on the map. I'm looking at a map right now. I can't really figure it out because I know one of them is located in England. So I'm guessing this one is probably in Ireland or Scotland. Yeah, so it's going to be in one of those areas of the park. But I definitely anticipate seeing a lot of witches' cauldron, a lot of fog, that type of thing. Up next, we have the meat market. This is a new one for the 2021 season. Fresh meat. The denizens of this devious dwelling are serving up delectable delicatessen and gorging on human hors d'oeuvres. Meat market is located in New France Village. Well, I know where that is. I know exactly where that is. So this sounds like it's definitely going to be a gory type of scare zone. Lots of blood and guts and gore, hanging meat, that type of thing. Next, we have the Garden of Souls. This is returning from 2018 and 2019, and it's back this year. A ghastly transformation has taken place in the gardens, where the graves of the deceased carry a dark secret, and grieving spirits wander freely. So, the Garden of Souls is located in Italy, and this sounds, again, almost like a cemetery kind of thing, where you're going to see a lot of just spirits, ghostly type people wandering around. And finally, we have Ripper Row. This has been a recurring scare zone from 2013 to 2019, and it is returning this year. Don't wander the streets of Whitechapel after dark. You never know who you might run into. Murder, mayhem, and mistaken identities around in the back alleys of this English town. Ripper Row is located in England, so that's like one of the first areas you enter in the park. And this sounds very interesting. It sounds like it kind of plays into Jack the Ripper and that type of thing. So there's going to be a lot of guys running around with weapons, I think. A lot of almost steampunk kind of looking scare zone, if you will. If I had to guess, it's kind of what's going to look like. So those are the scare zones for Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Now let's talk about the houses. So first up, the first house that we're getting is also one that we seem to be getting in Tampa, and it is the Witch of the Woods. So legend tells of the old Witch of the Woods who descended upon the ancient village and wreaked havoc. Nobody alive has seen her, but if you're brave enough to travel the woods at night, it's said that you can hear her chanting and crying out to the skies. Those who give into her control become her disciples, and those who don't inevitably meet the same fate. But this is only a story, right? So again, this one sounds like you're going to be in almost like an abandoned village and be going through the woods and such. But definitely seems like an interesting house and one that I would be excited to see. Up next, we have Killarney Diner. This is another one that's new for 2021. What say, Daddy-O? Word around town is that something landed in the forest right behind our favorite sock hop. Will you make it through your meal before becoming the flavor of tomorrow's Blue Plate special? So that sounds very 1950s, obviously. Definitely seems like almost like an alien one. Like it seems like we're going to run into some aliens out there or something, or some sort of creatures that are trying to turn us into their meal. I would actually be very curious to see this one, just to see like how they did this. Next is Nevermore. This is another new one for 2021. An unearthly plague ravages the land. You cry out for help, and the nobility turns a deaf ear. You perish in the streets, and the nobility turns a blind eye. You are reborn, and the nobility is silent forevermore. Welcome to the gothic nightmare of Prospero, last heir to the house of Usher, inspired by the works of Edgar Allan Poe. Ooh, I wish I could go into this house, because I know Universal did something like this. I don't know if it was Nevermore or not, but they did do an Edgar Allan Poe themed haunted house, and I would love to check this one out, because I love Edgar Allan Poe. I love his dark take on everything, and I feel like that would be really cool to experience and be able to check out. Next is a returning favorite to the Howl-O-Scream event. It was featured at Howl-O-Scream 2018, and it's called Dystopia. In the wastelands, help is given to those who seek out the new utopia. The final bastion of hope lies with the new society who has scavenged together the last remnants of technology and power. Not all who seek shall find, but all who find shall join or perish. The entrance to dystopia is located at the Escape from Pompeii queue, just past Italy and before Sesame Street Forest of Fun. So this seems kind of interesting. Definitely seems like I don't really know how to describe it. Like, definitely like a kind of bunch of people drinking the Kool-Aid sort of house. So I feel like a lot of people would look pretty normal in here. They wouldn't look too... You wouldn't be going up against any monsters, really. You'd be going against real people. And as I've said frequently on the show, you know, that's the thing that scares people more. And it's the things that are familiar that are more scary than those that are unfamiliar. So that's dystopia. Finally, we have Circus Sinistro, and this is a returning favorite from 2018 as well. No one knows when or where the tents will rise, but all who see them are drawn to find out what lies inside. This haunted house is not of this world and not of this time. Beware, what you see, you soon will be. So, Circus Sinistro is located in the Territory Sideshow Square, just past the trade wind in Festa Italia. So this will be very interesting. I think this is going to be a really neat haunted house. I think a lot of clowns and creepy oddities, it sounds like. Well, really, they don't even mention clowns, so I feel like this might actually be a little bit more like sideshow kind of circus. So a lot of strange oddities and like bearded ladies, that type of thing. So those are the haunts for Williamsburg, Virginia's Busch Gardens event. Now we do have a couple of shows we want to tell you guys about. First up is Phantoms of the Festas. This is a new show. This isn't your typical singing contest. Join the living audience as your favorite ghouls take on spooky hits and the winner is put to vote. The more spirited the audience is, the more exciting the competition is. So it's like a singing competition, and if the audience is engaged, then you win. Up next is the Scarezones. These lively musicians and singers leave nothing but bones on Il Teatro di San Marco, located in San Marco, Italy. Take a break from the scares with the spooky ensemble. So this sounds like a live band that we get to watch. I feel like that'd be really cool to see. I bet they can really rock the house. Next is Jack is Back. He is a returning favorite. The popular disco dance celebration returns to Ireland Village with pumpkin scarecrows and Howl-O-Scream's leading character, Jack. Ooh, so just like Universal Studios Orlando, Howl-O-Scream is also getting their character, Jack. Finally, we have the Monster Stomp on Ripper Row. This modern rock and rhythm spectacular features Jack the Ripper like you've never seen him before. Electrifying percussion, dynamic dance, and sensational singing return to Globe Theater stage in a pulse-pounding review. Monster Stomp on Ripper Row opens October 1st. So this show does not even open with the rest of the event, so that's kind of interesting. But I want to say SeaWorld is also getting something much like this too. So, neat. Now we've got a couple eerie experiences here. First up, we have some party zones. Heartbeats and pulses aren't the type of rhythms these DJs are throwing. Head over to a party zone for a Halloween party full of dancing and music. In France, a queen's duty is never done, even after death. Revel with the Burg was like it's 1793. I probably butchered that word, but whatever. And then in Festa Italia, the circus is in town and you have a front row seat to this ringmaster's melodic machinations. Party with the clowns till the moon goes down. So that sounds like a fun time there. It sounds like there's definitely going to be some dancing music, lights going around. I feel like that'd be a lot of fun to get to attend. Then, of course, we have the Roaming Hack Pack. This roaming horde of monsters has one objective: to remind the most confident and unsuspecting guests that there is no place to hide at Howl-O-Scream. You may hear the roar of their chainsaws coming, or you might not. So again, this is like those roaming haunts where basically they get to sneak up on you and basically keep you on your toes. So I'm kind of glad that they do something like that. Now we get the Booze Bar. Stop by one of our 4 booze bars located throughout the park for liquid courage to tackle your greatest fears. Become the mastermind behind the scares at the interactive control bar, where guests can initiate scares in different villages and houses with the push of a button. That's really, really cool. So the newest one is going to be located in England, and it is the Back Alley Bar. And then the returning favorites are the Control Bar located in Ireland. I love this concept, and I want to say that SeaWorld Orlando is having something like this in one of their themed bars, where you basically get to affect things that are going on in the house and scare zones. Then we have Restless Spirits located in Italy Gardens. And finally, Last Call, which is located in Oktoberfest. How fitting to have a themed bar in Oktoberfest. You gotta love it. Finally, we have Halloween shopping. From frightfully fashionable apparel to haunting home goods, our selection of spooky shops offer up an array of gifts to help you relive the thrills of Howl-O-Scream long after your terror-filled evening has ended. Face painting artists are available throughout the park to help transform faces into frightening demons, skeletons, and everything in between. So, just like all the other parks, this is your gift shop where you go to get your shirt and whatnot, or your mugs and all that fun stuff. Things to remind you of the event. So that is Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. They have a pretty good event. I wish we could go to it. It's going to be happening September 10th through October 31st. Houses are Witch of the Woods, Killarney Diner, Nevermore, and then returning favorites are Dystopia and Circus Sinistro. And the territories new for 2021 are Hexed Hollow and Meat Market, and returning favorites are Garden of the Souls and Ripper Row. Of course, we have those awesome shows, Phantoms of the Festos, Skeletones, Jack is Back, and Monster Stomp on Ripper Row. And don't forget about those eerie experiences that you can check out as well, especially the booze bars that helps them get a little bit extra money. But those are our two Busch Gardens Howl-O-Scream event, both happening September 10th through October 31st. We're going to take a short break to hear from our sponsors, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're talking all about SeaWorld Orlando, SeaWorld San Antonio, and SeaWorld San Diego. We'll be right back. Hey there, Terror Talk fans. Are you looking for a new way to let your voice be heard? If so, check out our friends at Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for creating your very own podcast. They offer editing tools to create your podcast, which include your audio, listener audio, unique transitions, and custom advertisements. In addition, they'll also help you distribute your podcast to other listener sources, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. With this unique app, you also have the chance to get paid for your podcast by simply placing ads for various sponsors in your videos. Best part of it all? It is 100% free. Anchor does all the work for you and makes podcasting as simple as turning on a light. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM. Whether you're new to podcasting, doing it as a hobby, or hosting a professional show, Anchor is the place for you. And we are back on episode 25 of the Terror Talks. Before the break, we were talking about Busch Gardens, both in Tampa and Williamsburg, Virginia. Now we're going to be talking about the SeaWorld parks in Orlando, San Antonio, and San Diego. So we're going to start off with SeaWorld Orlando. So they're having their Howl-O-Scream event, and that is going to take place from September 10th through October 31st. And they have 4 haunted houses that are going to be happening this year. First up, we have Captain's Revenge. A tempting and terrifying force has possessed those who once labored aboard this vessel. Against every warning, you descended into its dank underbelly in search of the captain who swore revenge on you. What grisly horror lurks around the next dimly lit corner? Creaks and groans fill the musty air. You're surrounded by what remains of the ill-fated crew. It's time to find a way out before they find permanent quarters for you. So this is obviously going to be a pirate house, and I've never actually been through a pirate haunted house before. I've been through a lot of pirate scare zones, but never a pirate haunted house, so this is kind of interesting to me. So we're definitely going to see a lot of undead pirates walking around. Maybe they won't be dead. Maybe they're absolutely alive pirates instead of undead pirates, but who knows. But we're definitely going to see a lot of them, a lot of oceanic type settings, definitely going to be going through the ship and whatnot, probably see some treasure and all those really cool things. Maybe we'll see some sea creatures of sorts, like maybe squids, or a lot of haunted houses that do the pirate theme thing or any type of oceanic theme will have the big shark head that will come out of a wall and get you. So maybe this will be featured there in some capacity. I'm not sure, but I think this is definitely going to be an interesting one. I'm curious where in the park it will be located. I'm guessing, and this is purely based off of speculation, but it's going to be located near the Kraken ride, because Kraken is part of the pirate folklore, and so the two kind of go together. So I'm assuming it'll be somewhere in that area of the park, but we'll just have to wait and find out. Up next, we have Water's Edge Inn. This inn sure doesn't look like the pictures in the review. From the moment you arrive, you can feel that something is terribly wrong. Every crumbling hallway and decaying room is crawling with restless souls. Maybe those wild stories about this place's sea-crazed owner and his search for the sirens were true all along. Having second thoughts about checking in? Don't worry, the staff will be right with you everywhere you turn. So obviously you're going to be going through some sort of hotel. I want to say this one has to do with the lighthouse emblem that we discussed back on that other episode. I believe this one will definitely have a lot of creepy guests all around the place. I guess the sirens may be featured in this in some form or another. You know, we know the sirens are going to be featured elsewhere in the park, and that's something we're going to talk about in a little bit. So maybe they'll be in this park at some point. Maybe they'll be in this haunt at some point. But, you know, we just won't know until we see it. I'm trying to think of where in the park this would show up, and maybe it is over near, like, the lighthouse or whatever. I'm not really sure. We'll have to wait and find out. So those are the 4 houses for this year. They're going to be the Captain's Revenge, Water's Edge Inn, Beneath the Ice, and Dead Vines. Those are the 4 haunted houses for the 2021 Howl-O-Scream event at SeaWorld. Up next, we have our Scarezones. We're going to have 4 of those. First up, we have Sea of Souls. This is it. The site of that horrific shipwreck. Those marauding pirates were too arrogant to see their downfall coming, and now they're doomed to wander through a sea of gruesome reminders. Their souls are restless, and their anger is real. They'll never stop seeking revenge on those who've escaped their ghostly fate. Steer clear if you can. So this is obviously going to be a pirate scare zone, so we're definitely going to see the pirates again, and I'm assuming that this will connect with the Captain's Revenge haunted house, if I had to guess, just because they seem to be going through with that theme of connecting the house with the scare zone, and both of those with the bar. So I'm sure we'll see some shipwrecked ship out there and a lot of pirates and whatnot and that type of thing. Definitely going to be an interesting scare zone. Finally, we have Deadly Ambush. The year is 1961. You've wandered into a quaint campground nestled in nature. It might sound like a dream, but a new nightmare has just begun here. What's happened to the campers? Creatures are emerging from the darkness. There's nowhere to hide, and no park ranger can rescue you. Get back to civilization now before it's too late. So this almost sounds very Friday the 13th-ish. You know, we're definitely going to see a lot of camps and probably a bunch of campers who are being attacked by something. You know, like it says, what's happening to them, we don't really know. So that'll be kind of interesting to see what we're going to encounter in that scare zone. What is taking them? What's making them disappear? And what's interesting is I don't really see this coinciding with any scare zone. So I'm curious if it does, or if it's meant to, or what we're going to get with that. So that's kind of interesting. So our 4 scare zones are Deadly Ambush, Sea of Souls, Frozen Terror, and Witchcraft Bayou. Then we have some interesting information about something called roaming haunts. We think this is kind of similar to the roaming scares that we heard about happening at Busch Gardens. So just to define what these roaming haunts are, there are 3 emblems on the website, and underneath each of them it has a slight description. So I'm guessing these have something to do with scares that are going to kind of be following you around throughout the park. So one of them is the sirens, and this is the trident symbol. These sirens don't need to lure you with song, they bring terror to you. So I'm guessing mermaids of sorts, because that's what sirens always have been in the pirate folklore kind of thing. So I'm guessing that we'll see them kind of running around and sneaking up on you. The creatures, this is the creepy tree emblem. Even the trees and plants are after you. Good luck camouflaging your fear. So I'm guessing that means we're going to have some scare actors just literally hiding in a bush or a tree, ready to catch you off guard at any given moment. That's all I can gather from that. And finally, the minions, and this is that creepy Grim Reaper kind of weapon. Evil craves worship. Don't fall under the spell of these sinister occult zealots. I'm guessing these have to do with the overall creature who's in charge of the Howl-O-Scream event here. That's the only thing I can figure. But it sounds to me like they're going to kind of be everywhere around the park. They're going to be scaring you at different turns and really just trying to catch you off guard, much like how Busch Gardens is doing it. So that'll be really neat to see how that plays into. I'll be curious to see that. We also have 2 new themed bars. First one is called the Longshoreman Tavern. When pirates pull into port, this be the tavern where they warm their bellies with rum. Take a break from the monsters and squalls, plant your weary hides, and join the merriment. And here you might discover that an old SeaWorld treasure has been partially resurrected. They're the Longshoremen, and they've been dying to entertain you again. So this is obviously going to go with the Scare Zone and the Haunted House, the 2 Pirates Scare Zone and the Pirate Haunted House. So I'm guessing these 3 go together. And I'm real curious, though, about what this treasure is that is going to be partially resurrected. They were very careful to make sure they said partially resurrected. So I'm curious to see what we're going to get from that. What does that mean, really? So that'll be interesting to find out about. Finally, we have the Siren's Last Call. Creatures of the shadows need a place to play, too. Could it be this rusted-out underground warehouse? Glance around and do your best to blend in. The regulars here are followers of the Siren, and they know how to spot an outsider. Be sure to pay homage to her by trying the bar's signature drink, the Siren's Kiss. So, judging from the name here and the premise of this bar, it sounds like this goes along with the haunted house, the Water's Edge Inn. So I'm guessing that if that is the case, then the Water's Edge Inn must have something to do with Deadly Ambush. So I'm guessing the 3 of those all kind of go together and fall under that category of the Sirens, if I had to guess. So that'll be kind of interesting, though. I'm very curious if that is the case and to find out if I'm correct on that. Our 4 themed bars for this Howl-O-Scream event are the Longshoreman Tavern, the Siren's Last Call, Poison Grotto, and Tormented. So that's all the information we have for SeaWorld Orlando's Howl-O-Scream event. The event is going to be happening September 10th through October 31st. Now let's talk about San Antonio's SeaWorld event. So that event is going to be taking September 17th through October 31st. And they're going to be having 1 brand new house and 4 returning haunts. So the brand new one is called The Swamp at Blackwater Bayou. New for 2021. The Swamp at Blackwater Bayou transports unsuspecting victims deep into a mystifying and horror-filled Louisiana bayou. These unwanted guests will venture through the moss, muck, and mayhem of a foggy boathouse, swamp, cemetery, and mansion. Voodoo curses will render victims blind, the undead and the cursed will torment, and animal-human hybrids will creep alongside as they try to make their way through 12 spine-tingling scenes of absolute horror. Extremely brave explorers will be rewarded with 3 additional VIP scenes if they have enough courage to risk a grisly end. That sounds really, really cool. So it sounds to me like you get through this whole haunt, and then if you can, force yourself to go just a little bit further, you get 3 extra scenes after that. So I think that's really neat that they did something like that. It definitely sounds like you're going to be encountering some interesting creatures. I love this animal-human hybrid idea, so you'll probably see like some rabbit head type thing, like head of a rabbit, body of a human maybe. I love the depiction of all the different scenes you're going to go through. The boathouse, the swamp, cemetery, and mansion. Like, they're very specific on those. Voodoo curses will render victims blind, so I'm guessing that means there's going to be a lot of fog in here. Very interesting house. I really wish I could experience this one. Up next, returning from 2019, is Milton Creek Manor. A beautiful and lavish hotel had to close its doors after mysterious murders and gruesome events began. After many years, the doors are open for any brave individuals who dare to walk its halls. But you aren't the only guest at Milton Creek Manor. Your room is ready. Are you brave enough to check into terror? So again, we have another haunted hotel sort of thing, kind of like what we're getting at SeaWorld. So I don't expect a whole lot from it. It definitely seems like it's just your typical haunted hotel. You'll go into the different parts of the hotel and see what lies in store for you. Up next is Zombie Horde, returning from 2019. Romero Corporation welcomes you to Matheson's Corners. Beware of your invitation to these parts. One wrong move and you may become part of the Zombie Horde. So the Romero Corporation, I wonder if that has anything to do with George A. Romero. I'm guessing that has to be some sort of homage to him. And if it's not an homage to him, well, then that's just a really freaky coincidence. But that seems like it might be an interesting thing. Then again, it might just be a typical zombie thing. Next, we have Carver's Cradle, returning from 2019. And literally all it says is they say that Mr. Carver put his heart and soul into his puppetry. They had no idea. So obviously that's a puppet house. You're going to have a lot of creepy marionettes and stuff following you around. Definitely going to be a creepy house. Sounds to me like it might be one that could go up against Puppet Theater at Halloween Horror Nights 30. But something tells me that this one would lose to Puppet Theater. Then finally we have Unearthed, Scarlet's Revenge, which is returning from 2019. During maintenance at the park, an excavation crew uncovered a centuries-old house buried deep beneath the ground. Upon opening its door, a sinister force is unearthed. Scarlet, a furious demon who wields a deadly deck of magical cards, summoning creatures of Howl-O-Scream past. So this sounds like a kind of anniversary haunt. So you'll see some things that I guess you would see at earlier Howl-O-Scream events. Definitely seems interesting, an interesting kind of way to present something like that. So those are your haunts for SeaWorld San Antonio. Up next we have the territories, and there is a good bit of them. So we have 3 new territories and 4 returning ones. Let's start with the returning ones this time. So first up we have Zombie Zone. So this debuted at 2018 and 2019, and it is a returning haunt for 2021. A horrible accident changed the residents of Matheson's Corner into the living dead. This horde continues to spread the poisonous zombie-making substance. There's always room for more. So this scare zone clearly is going to go with Zombie Horde. The two clearly are going to have some joint operations, if you will. They definitely go together. Up next is Vampire Point. This debuted in 2014, and it is returning this year for 2021. The disturbing, grotesque, and outright terrifying collide as the world's most frightening urban legends descend on this decaying town for a night of terror. So clearly we're going to be getting some vampires in this one, obviously, because it's called Vampire Point. I guess this is not the first time we have seen vampires at this event, and we are getting to see them down at Busch Gardens in Tampa as well. So we're getting vampires at 2 Howl-O-Scream events this year. Up next is Shadow Street. This was debuted in 2016 and 2017 and is returning this year for 2021. The Demon Dolls have found a new place to wreak havoc, stalking the pathway in front of Mr. Carver's cradle. Frightful surprises await those who dare to take a closer look. So this clearly has some connection to the Carver's cradle haunted house. Definitely is neat to see them connecting the two. We're definitely going to see a lot of dolls and creepy things there. Then we have Ripper Row. This one is from 2018 and 2019 and is returning this year. Stroll through the alleys of 19th century London, but be careful of dark corners. The spirit of Jack the Ripper lies in wait to disembowel more bodies. So this is one that we're seeing up at the Howl-O-Scream event in Williamsburg. So clearly they took a page out of their book and are borrowing some ideas. So we have 3 new scare zones coming to the event. First up, we have the Sindustry District. Welcome to the Sindustry District, where your wants and desires come alive, or dead. Enjoy music, drinks, and freaks in this fantasy where your imagination will run free. You might regret it. So, just reading it, I can't really gather a whole lot of information about what we're going to get with this. It definitely seems like an interesting concept. Let's see. I've got a picture here I want to look at and see if it kind of tells me anything about it, just by looking at it. Nope, the picture really doesn't tell you a whole lot. It's just kind of creepy looking. So maybe this is more of a glitzy glamour kind of scare zone, I guess. I'm not sure. Up next is Playground. Not for child's play. Enter the playground if you dare, where your childhood nightmares come alive. So to me, this sounds like the type of scare zone where you would see a lot of almost fairy tale type creatures kind of coming alive to basically kill you. It definitely is kind of creepy. Not really any pictures of this one either to tell me what I'm looking at. Finally, we have the swamp at Blackwater Bayou. New for 2021, the swamp at Blackwater Bayou transports unsuspecting victims deep into a mystifying and horror-filled Louisiana bayou. Venture through the moss, muck, and mayhem of a foggy boathouse, murky swamp, cemetery, and abandoned museum. Or is it? Voodoo curses will render you blind. The undead and cursed will torment you. Interesting. This is definitely an interesting scare zone. I think that this is clearly going with the Bayou Haunted House as well. And it's kind of interesting that the scare zone, the description of it is literally almost verbatim the exact same description we get of the haunted house as well. So that's kind of interesting. I definitely would be excited to see this one come to life. I wish I could go to San Antonio just to experience that one because I love the Bayou type scare zones. I think that'll be really neat. Then we have one show officially announced, and it is the Monster Stomp Show. In the misty corners of Victorian-era London, a fiend known only as Jack the Ripper walks the streets. Watch him take the stage in a way you've never seen before in this modern rock and rhythm spectacular. Hold on to your seat as electrifying percussion, dancing, and singing combine for a show that's as darkly entertaining as it is exhilarating. It's located at the Nautilus Theater. So this is the same show that they're getting up in Williamsburg, and I want to say at SeaWorld Orlando as well. Now we do have some themed bar experiences, and this is really neat to get to see those. So first up we have a new one called Scorched, and this goes along with the Sindustry Scare Zone. The Sindustry is serving up some satisfying beverages that are guaranteed to get you immersed in the new Scare Zone. So this, like I said, that one goes with the Scare Zone. Then we have Seesaw, also a new one. Indulge in specialty cocktails and brews at the new Seesaw Bar located in the playground. Okay, so it's looking like all of these have to do with the Scare Zone. So up next is Bloodthirsty. Get a transfusion of signature drinks at Vampire Point. Don't mind the waitstaff. You're not supper, just a midnight snack. Then we have Z-Bar. It's the end of the world at this apocalyptic bar. Hang out with the zombies while you take a shot from an inoculation station. And then finally, Ripped. Get a tasty beverage at our steampunk-themed bar. That's all they tell us about that one. Of course, you must be 21 years of age or over to purchase or consume alcoholic beverages. So that's all the information we have on SeaWorld San Antonio. It is shaping up to be a really, really neat year. The event is going to go from September 17th to October 31st. Finally, we have SeaWorld San Diego. And like I said at the beginning, we don't have a whole lot of information on this Howl-O-Scream event, but we do have some very light details. We do know that they're going to have 7 scare zones and 4 roaming haunts, and they are going to have 3 houses. The names are Nightmare Experiment, Deathwater Bayou, and Simon's Slaughterhouse. Now, we do have some information on Nightmare Experiment and Simon's Slaughterhouse. So, Nightmare Experiment. This lab's secret project has descended into chaos with the experiment's subjects driven into their worst nightmares by the sadistic staff. You could end up as the next volunteer if you can't find an escape before the doctor finds you. So this just sounds like your typical kind of creepy science lab haunted house. I think we kind of expected that just because this is their very first year doing Howl-O-Scream, so they're kind of dipping their toe in the water here. But it could actually shape up to be a really neat house. We don't know until the event comes to further fruition. Then the other haunt that we have information on is Simon's Slaughterhouse. The meat packaging plant has been taken over by the animals. Simon the Butcher has you in his sights. What other horrors are hiding in this grisly maze? Unless you can navigate your way through, you will be the next specimen. Simon says the only way out is through the butcher's blades. Simon says, run. So this is kind of an interesting one. I mean, not really that interesting, but still, you know, I guess it's cool. Most haunted attractions have the slaughterhouse kind of thing going on, so it's not really that original. But again, this is their first year, so maybe they're just kind of dipping their toe in the water to see how they like it. But that is what we have for Busch Gardens San Diego. We do have some additional information regarding all 5 parks. They are all hosting a family-friendly event. So we're going to give you a little rundown on each of them. So first up is Busch Gardens in Tampa. They are having a Sesame Street Kids Weekend on Saturdays and Sundays, October 2nd through October 31st during the day. Halloween fun with your favorite Sesame Street friends. Everyone's favorite furry friends are getting into the Halloween spirit at Sesame Street Safari of Fun at Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay, every Saturday and Sunday in October. This is included in park admission. Sesame Street weekends will feature trick-or-treating, a not-too-spooky Halloween show for families to enjoy together, special character photo ops, and more. Up next, we have Busch Gardens Williamsburg, where they have the Count Spooktacular. This is happening Saturdays and Sundays from September 25th through October 31st. Celebrate silly, not-too-spooky fun on Saturdays and Sundays in October. Children under 9 are invited to come dressed up and join in our costume parade during this daytime event. There are other family-friendly activities too, like our newly themed Hay Maze, trick-or-treating locations, and an interactive show. Please note that the Count Spooktacular and all other kids' attractions close at 5 p.m. as we prepare for Howl-O-Scream. Up next is SeaWorld Orlando's. They're having a SeaWorld Spooktacular. Their event is going to go weekends from September 18th through October 31st. Halloween is back with candy, costumes, your favorite Sesame Street friends, and plenty of spooky surprises. Treat your family to all the festive fun of SeaWorld Spooktacular this fall. Kids love trick-or-treating during this daytime event as they explore our decorated trail and meet all sorts of colorful characters. And that's just the beginning. From spooky stories and a Halloween dance party to moments with furry friends like Count Von Count, Elmo, Cookie Monster, and more. This is immersive family fun you'll only find here. This is included with park admission, and again, it's running September 18th through October 31st. Then we have SeaWorld San Antonio Spooktacular. Kids love trick-or-treating during this daytime event as they explore a decorated trail and meet all sorts of colorful characters. And that's just the beginning. From spooky stories and a Halloween dance party to moments with furry friends like Count Von Colt, Elmo, Cookie Monster, and more. This is immersive family fun you'll only find here. SeaWorld Spooktacular runs select dates from September 16th through October 31st and is included with park admission. Then finally we have the SeaWorld Spooktacular in San Diego. Kids love trick-or-treating during this daytime event as they explore a decorated trail and meet all sorts of colorful characters. And that's just the beginning. From spooky stories and a Halloween dance party to moments with furry friends like Count Von Count, Elmo, Cookie Monster, and more. This is immersive family fun you'll only find here. And this event will run September 18th through October 31st and is included with park admission. So those are the 5 family-friendly events at each of the parks. But that is going to do it. Those are all the information we have for all the Howl-O-Scream events happening at the various parks. We have 4 full event announcements and then 1 partial event announcement. We are still gathering information on that final partial one in San Diego, but we have most everything at this time. But we want to thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to go down below and comment, like, and subscribe. You can also follow us on our various social media pages. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to go to our other listening sites where you get updates on new episodes whenever they release. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and a few other ones that you can find listed in the description. Be sure to go check out our Patreon, where you can get special content such as early access, special bonus content, merch, and so much more. All you have to do is sign up. Be sure to go to our website and sign up for our mailing list. We are theterrortalks.wordpress.com, and there you can get access to all of our episodes and updates about when they are released. If you're looking for some more content to check out, go check out our friends over at UUOP, the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. They're covering all things to do with Universal Studios Orlando and Universal Studios in general. And if you like them, you can check out their sister podcast, the Rush of Fear podcast, where they're covering all things Halloween Horror Nights, and that includes announcements, speculation, history, and so much more. Then you can go check out our friends at the Theme Park Duo, who are covering HHN Hollywood and Universal Studios Hollywood, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party in Disneyland, and Knott's Scary Farm and Knott's Berry Farm, as well as a variety of other theme park topics. Finally, go check out our friends over at Tales from the Crypt, who are covering all things paranormal, supernatural, extraterrestrial, interdimensional, and just downright creepy. Finally, we want to give you guys a huge thank you for being a loyal listener and tuning in with us each and every episode. We could not do the show without you. We had a great time doing this, and we hope that you did as well and will join us. Until next time, be safe out there, don't text and drive, and be excellent to each other. Take care, guys.